what National Socialists do.
All right, so all of my phones are failing. I've had several failed stream attempts using the YouTube app. So at this point, we are going with a test with the tablet with Windows via OBS. Let's see how long this holds up. Verify I've got connectivity.
Answer me this, and just be honest. If you hate the government and you think it's Israeli,
I don't hate the
why
government.
don't you renounce your VA pension? I'm just curious. If you hate the government, renounce your VA pension. But you don't mind living off it.
I'm still working for my country. What do you think I'm doing right
In
here?
what capacity?
I'm trying to get
In
us
what
independence.
capacity?
As a patriot.
Okay. So, but if you hate the system, renounce your VA
I
pension.
hate Jewish control of the system.
Okay, if it's all Jew controlled, renounce your VA pension in front of the world. I don't want any part of this. I'll renounce my VA pension. Do it. Or you don't mind living off the system, but you want to berate the system.
All right, so we've got the stream working again.
It's all Jew occupied. Okay, then get rid of your VA pension. You don't need it.
Is this working? All right, so I'm recording an offline copy in case that happens again. So let's talk to some people here. Hello, everybody. Do you guys enjoy living off the tax dollars of U.S. taxpayers? How do you feel about having a higher standard of living in Israel than we have in this country? Here, let me switch the camera. It's complex with this. Properties.
Oh, that was unreal. Good luck,
everybody.
Thank you.
We'll go to lunch. We'll talk about it.
Sure. If I can get my
I'm gonna
damn
be
stuff.
here all day.
Sure. Okay, testing. Do we have camera? Do we have video feed? Let's see.
I don't want any part of this. I'll renounce my VA pension. You don't mind living off this.
Okay, is this thing working? Okay, it's working.
Let me ask you this. One of your brethren said the Israelis declared war on New Zealand, thus the gun attack.
Whatever, dude. Good afternoon, folks. Could you tell me, what do you think of the 1967 terror attack against the USS Liberty, or the stolen 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium that Israel stole from the United States in the 1960s? What do you think of the Dimona illegal nuclear program? Yeah? No thoughts? Hello, folks. Why do you support a terrorist nation? Is Israel going to give the United States its weapons-grade uranium back? No?
You get to a point where you became sick. I live in California. I knew he'd be here, so I flew out from the desk.
Good afternoon, folks. Why do you support Israeli terrorism against United States troops? Afternoon, ma'am. Would you like to talk about when Jews planted IEDs in U.S. military bases in the 1950s in the Lavon affair? It's true. I'm having a great day. Thank you. Sir, how's the Zog party going? Is Master Splinter in there? How's it going? Hello, folks. How does it feel to support a terrorist nation? How you doing? Good afternoon, folks. Why do you support a terrorist country that has committed multiple terrorist attacks against the United States military? 1967, we had the Lavon affair. In the 1950s, we had the Lavon affair. In 1967, we had the USS Liberty attack. Well, hello. Are you part of the Zog conference, people? Oh, sorry about that. Sir, why does Israel have a right to our tax dollars? Is it the terrorist attacks they've committed against the U.S. Navy or U.S. Army that justify?
You know, I'm honestly coming here to learn. I don't.
Would you like to learn about Israeli terrorist attacks against the U.S. military?
You know what? I honestly, I want to learn both sides of the fence.
Okay.
So I mean, if you
Well, look up the USS Liberty, 1967. We have the radio intercepts proving that the Israeli pilots communicated to their ground base that there was a confirmation that they were attacking a U.S. ship trying to false flag Egypt. Anyhow, look up the USS Liberty. You seem like your views are still developing. Look up the USS Liberty and then look up the Numek facility where the Israelis stole 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium from the United States. Hello, folks. Why does a country that has a higher standard of living than the United States deserve more foreign aid than all of the other aid we give to the rest of the world combined? Why? Is it because we need to fund terrorist attacks against our own country? Is it because the Israeli newspapers admit that the state has been using the money we've been giving them to fund ISIS?
No, Schmuck, it's because of Camp David. The Egyptians get aid as well. So you're not reading.
Israel gets more aid than all of the other nations combined. Why do you kids support terrorism? Sir, why do you support a terrorist country that has committed multiple terrorist attacks against the U.S. military in Egypt and in the Mediterranean? It's true. Look it up. I can show you the radio intercepts. Good afternoon, folks. Why do you support a terrorist state? Oh, we got troops. I thought another convoy was going by. So I'm holding a tablet right now. This is pretty awkward. For some reason, none of my phones are working. And it's getting pretty bad. I've got two different cell phones that, despite restarting, are no longer working. Sir, why do you support the terrorist country of Israel that's committed terrorist attacks against the U.S. Navy and Army?
So you're talking about the USS Liberty?
And the Lavon affair and the Numek incident where they stole 600 pounds? Well, of course you don't.
Well, no, I just don't want to be on your video or whatever. Propaganda.
It's true. How is the truth propaganda? Propaganda is the Jewish media.
You're leaving out the part where there's newspaper compensation.
I don't want compensation. I want my nukes back.
You want your nukes back.
Yes. Without the Samsung option, I would like undetonated nuclear warheads back.
You want what?
600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium. Cough it up.
I'm not Israeli or whatever.
Then why are you here shilling for them?
Because I don't like liars.
Then stop lying. Good afternoon, folks. Do you support the terrorist state of Israel? Would you like to talk about the USS Liberty or the Lavon affair? The 600 pounds of stolen weapons-grade uranium the terrorist state of Israel used to start an illegal rogue nuclear weapons program. Why do you support the terrorist state of Israel? Why are you paying the treasonous politicians in my country to breach their oaths of office? Man can only serve one master. How can someone have citizenship in Israel and vote in the U.S. legislature? Why is a foreign country allowed to comprise the majority of political funding in the United States? You just think you need to control everything. Is Shlomo a control freak? You need to control my government?
Yes.
Well, we got an admission. Good afternoon, folks. Why do you support terrorism? Care to discuss?
Hi, Mom.
Military attacks, terrorist attacks against the U.S. military. The theft of strategic nuclear resources from this country by Israeli Jews, and the construction of an illegal rogue nuclear weapons program using that stolen weapons-grade uranium. Folks, do you support terrorism? I'll take that as a yes.
You're still new.
Good afternoon, folks. Do you care to justify your support for a state that has stolen weapons-grade uranium from this country and committed multiple terrorist attacks against military targets of the U.S.? We lost over 200 casualties on the USS Liberty when Israeli jets started strafing it. We pulled a whole bunch of Jewish IEDs out of military bases of ours in Egypt in the 1950s. Are you allowed to do that because Israel's Jewish? Good afternoon, sir. Why do you support terrorism? Sir, why do you support terrorism? Why do you support terrorism against the United States military? Why do you support a state that has a rogue nuclear weapons program that has those illegal nuclear weapons because they stole 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium from the Numek facility in Pennsylvania? Care to talk about Israel's involvement in 9/11? The Odegotex? Want to talk about Lucky Larry Silverstein? Anybody? You guys are supporting the biggest terrorist state in history. Why? Why do you get away with this? Why does a state that has a higher standard of living than the United States get more foreign aid than all the other countries we give foreign aid to combined? Folks, care to justify your support of terrorism and your support of the terrorist rogue nuclear power of Israel? Sir, can you justify your support for the terrorist state of Israel?
What's your YouTube channel? I've never seen you before.
You might have. I'm running for president.
What's your YouTube channel?
LittleRevolution.us. They keep on deleting my YouTube channel.
Like Alex Jones?
No. I don't talk about shit, and I don't run cover for Israel like he does.
Alright, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyhow, I only want votes from people that have single citizenship. So if you got dual citizenship, I don't think you should be eligible to vote. All right, vote for me. And look up the USS Liberty and the Lavon affair. We have the intercepted radio communications between the Israeli plane and the ground base. We know it was an Israeli terrorist attack that was premeditated. The Israelis also planted IEDs in our military bases in Egypt in the 1950s. This is all admitted. I can show you Jewish newspapers that admit this, mainstream ones. Why do you support terrorism?
I would love to talk more, but I haven't.
You have to go back and support the Zog?
I'll definitely check that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Folks, why do you support terrorism? Why do you support a country that has stolen 600 pounds at least of weapons-grade uranium? Folks, do you care to discuss your support for a country that has committed terrorist attacks against the U.S. military? The Lavon affair. Oh yeah, it's funny when U.S. troops get killed by Jews from Israel. That's real funny, isn't it? Real funny. Real funny. Over 200 casualties on the USS Liberty. No, he's laughing at dead troops. I'm sick of Jews laughing about dead U.S. troops. You're laughing about what happened to us in Iraq.
You said I'm Jewish.
Why are you here supporting the Jewish state?
How do you know I'm Jewish?
Why are you here supporting Israel? So if you're not Jewish, why are you supporting this theft of 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium from the United States in the Numek facility?
I want your attention, man. Please.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks for supporting the Zog. We really need a foreign power controlling us. I told you, I'll debate you anytime. Send me an email. I'm busy.
No, you want to get your garbage in and contest it. I want to challenge what you're saying. You don't want to have all this debate.
Dude, if I showed up at your work and said, let's have a debate now, you'd say I'm busy. Good afternoon, folks. Do you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel that has committed terrorist attacks against the United States military, the Navy, the Army, U.S. military bases, including morale, wellness, and readiness facilities?
And you think it's all Jew
I
control.
don't
Renounce your VA
my
pension.
government. I
Renounce
love
your VA
my
pension
country.
if you hate it.
I hate Jewish control of it. I hate foreign tyranny controlling my government.
The number of American Jews in the U.S. House and Senate is like 29.
So did you serve your country?
Yes. I'm a Marine Corps veteran of Afghanistan. And I was pro-Israeli when I served because I believed the shit I saw in the Jewish media because I didn't know it was Jewish.
Jewish media.
Which
Yeah.
one's the Jewish media?
Fox News, CNN,
CNN's owned by
CNN,
Time
the
Warner.
Jewish
Zucker.
Time Warner is
Zucker.
the parent company.
All right, so he's trying to tell me that Zucker doesn't run CNN.
Time Warner is the parent company.
Zucker.
Okay, but Time Warner is the parent company.
Zucker.
And he's not Jewish.
Zucker.
Okay, Jeff Fuchs, you surround.
The guy who let the Jews back into England in 1643 wasn't Jewish either, but he got paid a lot of money by Jews.
Oh, I'm sure you have the receipts to prove that.
Actually, we have the letters
you're making
between
the most
Oliver
ridiculous
Cromwell.
claims, Pat.
Afternoon, folks.
Pat, you're
Why do
making
you
the most-
support the terrorist state of Israel? Would you like to publicly support the terrorist attacks against the USS Liberty and the Egyptian
It makes sense.
targets?
Come on, it makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Sir, would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel?
Oh. Hey, there, here's your campaign sign.
Oh, thank you very much.
I want to touch you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, folks. Do you care to discuss and justify your support for the terrorist state of Israel? The 1967 USS Liberty terrorist attack that caused over 200 casualties. Yeah, smile about dead U.S. troops. It's real funny, isn't it? What about when the Jews planted IEDs? Jews from Israel pretending to be Egyptian Arabs in a false flag attack against morale, wellness, and readiness facilities. Oh, that's a nice smirk you got there. Is that because we've got dead U.S. troops at the hands of Israeli Jews? Is that funny? You just want to use our military as mercenaries and laugh about it when our people die. That's real funny, isn't it? Does that hat give you superpowers of not giving a fuck about anyone who dies at the hands of Jewish terror? What about What about the 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium that the state of Israel stole from the NUMEC facility in Pennsylvania? They've built a rogue nuclear program using stolen U.S. weapons-grade uranium. Do you justify that? Is it funny? Why are you smiling? Anyhow, let's see if my stream's still going. Oop. Good afternoon, folks. Why do you support the terrorist state of Israel? Is there a reason you support the terrorist state of Israel? They don't like getting their faces shown. Would anyone here like to discuss the Odigo texts? Sir, why do you support a state that has stolen 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium from the United States? Folks, can you justify the terror attack on the USS Liberty in 1967? Do you care to justify the IEDs that Jews planted in morale, wellness, and readiness facilities in Egypt in the 1950s, where they were trying to frame Arabs? Simple questions, not too many answers. We've got a guy here offering $1,000 to take me away, but I'm not going to take it. Oh.
I'll give you $1,000 here if you can disprove it.
So I just heard the JDL. There was a terrorist attack in Southern California where the JDL. All right. So they're talking about the JDL, which burned the Institute for Historical Review to the ground in Southern California because they had proven the gas chambers were fake. And by the way, not even Jewish historians will now claim that there were gas chambers used against Jews in Germany. They still do it in movies, but no actual Jewish historian. You can thank the Institute of Historical Review. They're over there singing the praises of a Jewish terrorist organization called the JDL. And this Jewish terrorist organization burned the Institute for Historical Review to the ground in the, was it 90s or 2000s? Hey guys, when did the JDL commit arson in Southern California?
This is a better one. Auschwitz was ice cream parties.
It's true.
Pat, I've been to Auschwitz. Have you? Just be honest.
How was the ice cream?
Have you been to Auschwitz?
How was the ice cream? Did you ride the roller coaster?
Roller coaster at Auschwitz. No, I missed
the
that.
roller coaster that dumped Jews into the oven.
I missed that.
You did. Well, they taught us about it in school.
They taught you there was a roller
coaster. Do you
coaster?
believe there were homicidal gas chambers disguised as showers?
I've seen them.
We've got a gas chamber believer here.
Pat, have you ever been to Katowice, Poland? Have you ever been?
So, just a side note for you in the audience: in 1932 or 1933, Jews working for the secret police decided there needed to be a more humiliating way to torture Russians to death. So, in the 1930s, Jews in the secret police of Russia invented mobile gassing trucks. That's right, gas chambers used against civilians were Jewish. Look it up. I don't know if it was called the NKVD or the GPU at the time, but yes, Jews invented mobile gassing trucks to kill Goyim. And Jews committed a genocide of 40 to 60 million white Christians in Russia under the 85% Jewish government of the USSR prior to World War II. Don't believe me? Read 200 Years Together by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Ma'am, why do you support the genocide happening against the Christian Palestinians? Why do you support genocide against Palestinian Christians? Why do you support terrorist attacks against the U.S. Navy in 1967? Over 200 U.S. casualties. Laugh it off. Those are dead U.S. servicemen, and it's not funny. They laugh at these rat bastards are laughing at dead U.S. military personnel. They're laughing. They call me a conspiracy theorist. I can show you the radio intercepts proving that the USS Liberty was knowingly attacked by Israel. We weren't the only ones to intercept it. Egypt and I believe Lebanon also intercepted the radio communications between the Israeli fighter jet and their ground control base, proving, including a countdown in Hebrew where they said the ships were American. They inflicted over 200 casualties and then sent Israeli torpedo boats to finish off the Liberty when they couldn't finish it off with fighter bombers.
Pat, buy a ticket to Katowice today.
Folks, why do you support Israeli terrorism against United States military targets in 1967, the USS Liberty? In the 1950s, the Lavon Affair. Did you know Jews invented IEDs? And that the first Prime Minister of Israel said terrorism? Jews invented terrorism. That's right, that's a quote from the first Prime Minister of Israel who said that he and his fellow Irgun terrorists from Israel or occupied Palestine invented terrorism. We're going to do a whole bunch of documentaries on Israel's involvement in 9/11 and its connection to the Oded Yinon plan. We're going to talk about the Likud party people that owned the infrastructure in the building. Sir, why do you support the 1967 terrorist attack against the USS Liberty?
Why I support it?
Yeah.
Because it was carried out not by Israel.
Who carried it out then?
What do you know about it?
I know that they were going to blame it on the Egyptians.
I know that it was a spy ship, that the USS Liberty was a CIA spy ship. And the USS Liberty was broadcasting spy information about Israeli movements.
That's right, because Israel had promised America not to invade Syria, and Israel did it anyway in a preemptive attack. That's right, Israel started the 1967 war.
How do you know that?
Would you like to appear on a stream with me? We can discuss this.
No, I don't want to.
Sir, Pat at littlerevolution.us, include him in the email, carbon copy him. We will debate all this stuff. Right now, I need to get as many people on video coming and going from this conference.
Your nonsense. You don't want to debate.
Gentlemen, do you oppose Israeli terrorism against United States military targets? Thank you. So it was wrong when the USS Liberty was attacked by Israeli fighter jets and torpedo boats. Was it wrong when Israel stole 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium in the 1960s from the United States and built illegal nuclear warheads with it?
Not speaking with anyone who spoils you.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That takes guts in this city. Thank you. Good afternoon, folks. Would you like to talk about the Israeli terror attacks on United States morale, wellness, and readiness facilities in Egypt?
Yeah, we've even got government agents like yourself talking about that.
I wish to God that I represented United States intelligence agencies. I wish to God that I had power in the government.
Yeah, you do.
I would fix this country real quick.
Yeah, we know. What's your name?
My name's Patrick Little. I'm running for president.
Who you are, man. You know who we
So
are.
why do you support Israeli terrorism?
Hey, no, you support Israeli terrorists. You support fake Jews.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here, folks. Me pointing out Israeli terrorism.
We got your number, buddy.
I wish to God. I wish to God.
Back up.
I wish to God.
Back up. Don't be blasphemous.
So I am sitting here I'm stone cold in one position, not moving. I'm not posing a threat.
We know your deal, buddy. We know you're a little fraud. We know you're.
I wish to God that the government was backing me. I wish to God.
They are.
I wish to God they were.
Yeah.
I would fix this problem with Israeli control of our government real quick.
We know about your dad working with all the Jews down in Florida. We know about your dad working with all the Jews.
Good afternoon, folks.
We know you track that Jew money in.
I live on a boat, dude.
That fake Khazar.
Good afternoon. Why do you support Israeli terrorism against United States military targets?
You hate the system.
So they're trying to bring my family into this. In case you don't know, my family has essentially disowned me.
The fake Khazar.
So do you care to introduce yourself, sir?
You know who I am.
I don't know who you are.
Well, then you copied exactly everything we do, but you do it for the government. We know.
Are you Activist News?
My Activist News. Who's Activist News? Daniel Walker?
Is that
You've
you?
been on Daniel Walker's show before. You go on with Adam Green and Handsome Truth and all the rest of the Ryan Dawson, all the government.
Hold on,
agents.
you're saying that Ryan Dawson's an agent?
We know he is. What's he doing in Japan, buddy? Look, man.
Yeah. Sir, why do you support Israeli terrorism against United States military targets?
I'm unaware of any Israeli.
1967, the USS Liberty. In the 1950s, IEDs were planted in American military bases in Egypt. Attempted false flag operation against the United States military in Egypt.
Little is a government agent, and
Sure.
he lines his pocket with Khazar Jew money, just like his dad does down in Florida. What's your dad do down in Florida, buddy?
Not speak to me. That's what he does.
Yeah, I heard that. That's a classic line, sure.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
the
Jason
point I'm
Kessler.
making is that
Jason
Israel's
Kessler's
committed
buddy.
multiple
Jason,
terrorist
did you
attacks
listen to his
against the
mother's
United States
Jason?
military.
Got kicked out of his dad.
600
don't believe
pounds
that,
of
man. He gets
uranium
paid
were
well.
stolen
He gets paid
from
well by the
a
FBI,
Pennsylvania.
so does this guy.
I wish to God I was working for the government.
You are working for the government.
I wish the government
How
was
do you pay
backing
to
me.
get all around the country? You live in San Francisco. You live in government housing in San Francisco.
I live in a fucking
in
boat,
Berkeley.
dude.
In Berkeley.
I live on a fucking
Yeah.
boat.
Oh, here's the other thing. You said that you flew a dirigible that says Jews rape kids. Except for that never happened.
True story.
That never happened.
No, it didn't. Ziggy
It
Keller
didn't
verified
happen.
that.
I'm done here.
You walked away because you exposed your government.
Ma'am, why do you support Israeli terrorist attacks against United States military targets?
I don't support terrorist attacks.
Why do you support Israel?
Why are you supporting Palestinian terrorists?
I'm supporting the Christians that are being genocided by Jews in Israel.
I don't know. I'm a Christian. I go to Israel. I don't know any Christians that are being genocided.
Well, I can show you videos of Israeli tanks machine gunning statues of Mother Mary.
That's not genocide of Christian. That's genocide of a statue.
But as a Christian, you should care about that. So you're saying what's happening to the Palestinians, including the Christian Palestinians, is not genocide?
Genocide is killing people. That's genocide.
No? Do you know what the UN definition of genocide is? Look it up. It meets the criteria. Also, what's happening to whites in their home countries also qualifies under the UN definition. And it's Jews behind that, too.
You know, Christians are the number one persecuted religion in the world.
Is that why Israel supported ISIS, which was wiping out Christians in the Middle East? I can show you the Israeli newspapers admitting that the Israeli state was supporting ISIS.
I don't know about
With our U.S. tax dollars.
I don't know.
Well, email pat@littlerevolution.us if you're interested in joining a stream. I can cover all of this for you, but I need to get as many people on video as possible coming and going from the conference.
Why are you doubting the Holocaust?
Because there were no roller coasters of death that dumped Jews into ovens. There were no bear and eagle cages.
Weren't you told as a child that they killed millions? Bears and eagles killed millions of people in there?
I was told about Holocausters.
He's claiming his teacher told him.
All right, so they're claiming that the Six Flags Auschwitz thing was never taught to American school children. Folks, why do you support Israeli terrorist attacks against U.S. military targets? Oh, is it funny that 200 casualties were caused by Israeli fighter bombers and torpedo boats? This guy just laughed about the USS Liberty. Thanks, fucker. They laugh about the USS Liberty. They laugh about the Lavon affair. It's not funny. These are IEDs being placed in MWR facilities. These are Israeli fighter bombers and torpedo boats attacking U.S. naval personnel. Ma'am, do you support Israeli terrorism against the United States? Do you support the Israeli government in its theft of 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium from the Pennsylvania facility called NUMEC? Oh, good afternoon, folks. Do you support the terrorist state of Israel? What do you have to say about the 1967 June, yeah, you're being filmed. This is a public place, and I'm not doing this for money. It's legal in D.C. Anyhow, so what about the USS Liberty? Over 200 casualties. I've had a lot of Jews here laugh at me when I talk about it. Do you find the death of U.S. servicemen funny?
We are journalists here. We are doing our work. It's news, so...
Are you French or Israeli?
We are French.
Oh, well, power to the Yellow Jackets. They talk about the Jew bankers all the time. So, would you like to know something more about the stolen weapons-grade uranium from Pennsylvania? No? It's called the NUMEC facility. It's interesting. That's where Israel got the weapons-grade uranium they built their illegal nuclear weapons program in Dimona with.
Yeah, we are filming. Thank you very much.
Oh, all right. Well, enjoy the show.
Thank you very much.
And I hope the Yellow Jackets succeed in removing the Jewish bankers from power as they have pledged to during their protests. So this guy over here was praising the JDL, which committed arson terrorist attacks against the Institute for Historical Review in the 1990s after they proved that the homicidal gas chamber myth was a lie. These are the same people that tried to burn Ernst Sundel's garage to the ground in Canada. The JDL is the terrorist arm of the ADL. And remember, I can quote the first Prime Minister of Israel in saying, "Terrorism? We invented terrorism." Sir, can I talk to you about the USS Liberty? Good afternoon, folks. Do you support the survivors of the USS Liberty in seeking to end aid to Israel?
He's running for president.
Good afternoon, sir. Do you support terrorism?
Leave me alone.
All right. Do you
wanna
support
talk to you.
Israel?
I don't want to talk to you.
All right. Well, most of the people here don't. Good afternoon, folks. Do you think Israel should continue to control the United States government? Do you think the Declaration of Independence, as it was worded against the King of England, also applies to foreign rule in the form of Israeli control of our government now? I actually did a reading of the Declaration of Independence where I switched out the word Israel in England and King James and the Prime Minister of Israel, and it worked quite well. Good afternoon, sir. Why do you support Israeli terrorism against United States military targets? So we've got a little show here.
Make a statement. And
Why do you support the JDL? The JDL is a terrorist
I didn't say I
organization.
don't put words in my mouth.
You guys were talking about the JDL. Do you know what the JDL
No, I'm not
is?
talking about the JDL. Don't put words in my mouth.
Hey, I'm a veteran. I want you to tell me about your VA pension. Why do you have a VA pension? You're very young.
I had an arm surgery. They evaluated me for disability after the shoulder surgery, and
Did you have PTSD?
no, I don't have PTSD.
You sure? And you just got disability for an arm injury?
I had to have a surgery. I couldn't use my left arm for like a year properly.
Why are you spending Jew money then? You claim it's all Jew money.
Pat's a Jew himself.
If it's all Jewish money,
we've got some
if
friends
it's all
here.
Jewish money, you
No,
hate
we're not
Jews.
friends.
Turn
He doesn't
your
hate
pension
Jews.
in.
He's an actor. He's getting paid for this.
Well, good afternoon,
He's an
folks.
actor, and he's getting
Can I
paid.
tell you about terrorist attacks committed by Israel against the United States? All right, 1967 in June, over 200 casualties on the USS Liberty. Were you aware of this? I have the radio intercepts that both Lebanon and Egypt and the United States intercepted, proving that the Israeli pilots knew they were attacking a U.S. ship. In the 1950s, Israel planted IEDs in American military bases in Egypt. Did you know this? Are you reconsidering your support for Israel now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Pat,
Right, Pat?
For your
Sure.
education, the Sinai was given back before you were probably born.
Good afternoon, folks. Why do you support the terrorist state of Israel? Will you renounce the rogue nuclear program that uses stolen weapons-grade uranium from the United States? And I do apologize that I'm using a big awkward tablet right now, but all of my phones stopped working for some odd reason, just like at the CAGOP convention where my supporter had to use his phone because my phone stopped working.
Beyond the limits. Pat, for your education, there was no Israeli diplomatic mission until the 70s.
Just a moment. I need to make sure the steam's still running.
It's about bloodlines, honestly. That's part. So the next time you claim that the Israelis were terrorists, or the Israeli consulate terrorists, to get something else attacks against the United States military.
Ah, shit, they're using the other exit. Fuck. God damn it, this happened last time, too. They're using the other exit on the far side there. Fuck. They did this last time, too. Last time they didn't have this barrier up when I was here. I was able to go right up to the front door. God damn it, I'll have to get over there. Hey, guys, if you want to follow me, I'm going over there. It seems like a lot of the Jews are heading out that way instead of this way.
$1,500 if you can just prove this lesson. In front of everybody, I'll give you $1,500 cash today.
Good afternoon, folks. Could you tell me about your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Could you tell me about the 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium that were stolen from the United States in the 1960s from the New Mexico facility, or the Dimona nuclear weapons program, which is a rogue terrorist nuclear program using stolen weapons-grade uranium? Do you think that Israel has the right to steal nuclear weapons from the United States? Do you feel that it is justified the multiple terrorist attacks that have been committed against United States military forces in the Mediterranean and Egypt? Sir, do you support Israeli terrorism against United States military targets in the Mediterranean and Egypt in the 1950s and 60s? Good afternoon, sir. Would you like to talk about the 1967 terrorist attack on the USS Liberty? All right. All right. Good afternoon, ma'am. Will you renounce support for Israel?
I'm sorry.
Will you renounce support for Israel? Would you care to discuss Israeli terrorist attacks against U.S. military targets?
Well, man, what is a fake Jew, real Jew?
Good afternoon, sir. Would you like to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel that occupies our government through the AIPAC and 7,200 Jewish organizations? No? Yeah. All right.
No, you can't claim that. I mean, you know anything about DNA? I mean, it's science.
Sir, can I maybe talk you out of supporting Israel?
Sorry.
All right. Well, do you know about terrorist attacks that have been committed by Israel against the United States in the last few years? Can I tell you about? All right. Good afternoon, folks. Anyone care to discuss their support for the terrorist state of Israel that's committed multiple terrorist attacks against U.S. military personnel? Care to discuss your support for terrorism, sir? Folks, would you care to discuss your support for Israeli acts of terrorism against the United States? Anyone here to discuss the 1967 terrorist attack against the USS Liberty?
Guys, hold up.
Oh, they're jaywalking. We got Jays jaywalking. That's all right. The law doesn't apply to Jews. All right. Good afternoon, sir. Care to discuss Israeli terrorist attacks against the United States? Well, at least he didn't laugh when I said it. Good afternoon, folks. Do you find it funny that the Israelis have committed multiple terrorist attacks against U.S. military forces in the 50s and 60s? That Israel currently has a nuclear weapons program that uses stolen weapons-grade uranium from the NUMEC facility in Pennsylvania? I mean, at least they're not laughing this time. You think it's funny the 200-plus sailors that were casualties in the USS Liberty terrorist attack by Israeli fighter bombers and torpedo boats in 1967? Why do we give a nation that keeps on attacking us money year after year? Why do we share intelligence with a terrorist country that keeps on attacking our military personnel? Gentlemen, would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Discuss the Lavon affair, the Dimona nuclear weapons program using stolen weapons-grade uranium from the United States. I'm a lone protester here, folks. You should all be out here protesting these bastards. They control our government through the 7,200 Jewish organizations. Would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel, sir? Are you upset that I'm talking about Israeli terror attacks against U.S. military targets? Does it anger you that I'm talking about things that Israel has done to the United States, sir? It's funny. They'll start shaking with anger and they'll laugh at you, but what they won't do is have an honest conversation with you. Sir, why do you support terrorism? Why do you support terrorism? Sir, why do you support terrorism? Would you like to discuss Israeli attacks against U.S. military targets? No? Good afternoon, folks. Can I talk to you about Israeli nuclear weapons program using stolen weapons-grade uranium? Good afternoon, folks. Care to talk about the illegal weapons program for nuclear weapons in the Middle East in Israel using stolen 600 pounds of stolen weapons-grade uranium?
I know my family came here from the late 1800s.
Okay, well, that's too late.
So we're not.
Good afternoon, sir. Would you like to talk about the Israeli nuclear weapons program in Dimona? Okay. So they think Damona's funny. They don't know about their own nuclear weapons program. Good afternoon, folks. Would you care to discuss your support for a terrorist nation? USS Liberty, Lavon affair, NUMEC facility. Israeli involvement in 9/11. Nope. Well, at least they didn't laugh at me. Or, I'm sorry, at the dead troops. Good afternoon, sir. Would you like to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Good afternoon, folks. Would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Why do you support terrorism? Is there a reason you support terrorism, sir? Is there a reason you guys support terrorism? Is there a reason? Is there a reason you ladies support terrorism against the United States military? Sir, is there a reason you're supporting terrorism here today? Sir, is there a reason you're supporting terrorism here today?
Yeah, well, maybe that's why we're here.
But what do we have to do?
Who the fuck are you, man?
Do we have to leave?
say your fucking name.
Do we have to leave?
You won't even say your name.
Who are these clowns? Who are these clowns?
Who are you? We know you work for the government. We know you live in government housing.
I wish to God I had the government back
in government housing.
I live in a fucking boat, dude. I'm broke.
When did you?
Good afternoon, folks. Would you care to discuss Israeli terrorism against the United States? Oh, all right.
Israeli. You know, hey, here's
What do you call that? You call it Jew walking. Jew walking.
Hey, Pat.
No, I'm
Pat,
campaigning.
Israel.
Jaywalking is a proprietary
listen,
thing from my
Pat,
company.
Jew walking,
Hey,
like you said in your
do
video.
these Khazars have anything to do with the state of Israel? Do Khazars like yourself have anything on Israel?
Good afternoon, folks. Would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Folks, would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Care to discuss the 1967 terrorist attack worth over 200 casualties in the U.S. Navy? The stolen weapons-grade uranium? No? Sir, how do you justify Israeli control over the United States government? Sir, how do you justify Israeli control of the United States government? Isn't that a violation of our Declaration of Independence?
Who can stay in the United States for
Well, this is not really.
Sir, why do you support terrorism?
We're gonna make a.
Sir, why do you support terrorism?
You got to be locked up.
You didn't want to talk. Ma'am, sir, why do you support terrorism? Folks, is there a reason you support terrorism? Care to talk about Israeli terrorist attacks against United States military forces in the 1950s and 60s, or the illegal rogue nuclear weapons program that Israel built using stolen weapons-grade uranium from the United States? Good afternoon, folks. Would you care to discuss your support for the terrorist nation of Israel? Would you care to discuss the USS Liberty, the 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium? That's enough for dozens of nuclear warheads. Why does Israel have the right to steal weapons-grade uranium and cause Superfund sites that need to be cleaned up at the cost of billions of dollars? Are you planning on asking Israel to give us our uranium back? No. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Why do you support the terrorist state of Israel? Is there any chance we're getting our 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium back from Israel? Any chance? Any chance? Undetonated, just like the uranium back.
Is it better than America?
What, against our own cities? Well, we got an admission there that Israel has a Dimona nuclear weapons program. Sir, do you care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel?
Not especially.
Why? Does it make you uncomfortable?
No, I don't fully support Israel.
Good. You shouldn't. Good afternoon, folks. Care to discuss your support for a terrorist state?
What you doing here, buddy? Actually, that's dope.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good afternoon, folks. Anyone here care to discuss publicly why you support a state that commits terrorist attacks against the United States government? Anyone care to discuss Israeli terror attacks against the United States? Anybody? Any takers? Israeli terrorism, justify it. Anybody? No?
They didn't go anywhere.
You want to discuss terrorist attacks against the United States military forces?
That's just not true.
All right, why?
I doubt you could point out Europe on a globe, much less now.
I know a lot more than I know.
These clowns are still at it. Well, good afternoon, ladies. Care to discuss your support for the terrorist state of Israel? Care to discuss the terror attacks against the U.S. Navy in the 1960s committed by Israeli fighter jets, as well as Israeli torpedo boats? The planting of Jewish IEDs in military facilities of the United States and Egypt in the 1950s? Why do you gentlemen support terrorism against the United States military? Is there a reason? Is it just terrorism for the sake of terrorism? You just like seeing dead sailors? How you doing, sir? Why do you support terrorism against United States troops?
You had all the answers. You asked your own question, right?
Schadenfreude, I think.
You have all the answers. Just answer your question.
It's a red light, sir. That's a red light.
See, I told you I had all the answers.
That's right, I do. I'm running for president in case you want to stop supporting your puppet Trump.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, folks. Care to talk about Israeli terror attacks on United States military personnel? Having fun yet?
Oh, we're definitely standing up for
When can I look forward to the chop job?
Chop job.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Good afternoon, folks. Care to discuss Israeli involvement in terror attacks against United States military personnel in the 50s and 60s?
I respect your decision for free speech, but please get
You don't. Why don't you want to talk about it?
How about I respect your decision for free speech, you can respect my decision for privacy.
Well, that free speech is going away real quick if the Jews get their ways in this country. Hate speech laws are coming. Good afternoon, folks. Care to discuss how a Jew in Germany now controls what you get to post on social media? You want to talk about Annetta Kahane, the Jew born in 1954 that decides who gets arrested for social media posts in Germany? Yes, for thought crime.
Ziggy says hi. What do you think about that, man? We're not messing around.
I
with
don't.
You, dude.
I don't know who Ziggy is.
You know who
Good
Ziggy-
afternoon,
he's the guy
folks.
that
Care to
exposes you
discuss
as a liar,
Israeli
man.
terrorist attacks against United States military personnel. Care to discuss United States military casualties at the hands of Israeli fighter bombers and torpedo boats in the USS Liberty incident.
Have you seen him before? Have you seen him on video out here year after year? No?
We were here last. I think that you were here. But I was. That's nice.
So they're doing a little video. They're going to enjoy themselves. All right.
Come on, let's go have lunch. Come here.
No, thank you.
We'll debate. I'll put the $2,000.
Good afternoon, folks. Care to discuss Israeli involvement in terror attacks against United States military personnel? Why do you support terrorism? Why does Israel get to steal 600 pounds worth of weapons-grade uranium from the United States and get away with it? If any other country had done that, what would have happened to them? Sir, why do you support Israeli terrorism against United States military personnel?
Pat, you're such a punk bitch.
Yeah, thank you. Is this thing still going?
Hey, Pat Little, you're a government agent. You're exposed.
I wish to God the government was paying me.
Shut up. We know. You've been exposed. Ziggy says hi.
I don't know who Ziggy is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know. You know what we're talking about.
If you can arrange for me to have power in the FBI, please do.
Yeah, whatever.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm begging for power in the government.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you are begging. Hey, this guy.
Good
Pat,
afternoon,
he
folks.
runs
Why
this
do you
rigged
support
election.
Israeli terrorism against United States
All right.
military personnel?
Hey, one thing that's for sure out here is.
So, do you know about the Lavon affair in 1960s, in the 1950s, or the USS Liberty attack in the 1967 June attack, where Israeli fighter bombers and torpedo boats attacked a U.S. Navy vessel, knowing the Liberty, the USS Liberty? Yes. And how do you justify this?
In wars, there are all kind of mistakes.
It was not a mistake. We have the radio communications proving the Israeli pilots knew they were initiating contact with a U.S. ship.
I think this issue was resettled between the government and the end of this.
Well, does that mean we're getting our 600 pounds of weapons-grade uranium back?
No. You can see the difference, big difference.
We want our nukes back, sir. Why do you get to steal our nuclear weapons? So, he's sorry about the USS Liberty, but we can't have our uranium back. Sir, why do you support terrorism against the United States? Why do you support terrorism?
They are the synagogue of Satan. That is the synagogue of Satan inside.
Are you guys enjoying the Klein Show?
Synagogue of Satan.
Welcome to the Clown
Read
Show.
The book of Revelation.
They wouldn't be here if I wasn't here. Enjoy the Clown Show.
Khazarians, they don't have anything to do with the tribes of Israel. And of course, as we know,
You enjoying the Clown Show? Are you enjoying their Clown Show? Good afternoon, folks. Would you like to discuss Israeli terror attacks against the United States?
and they control the
All right.
banks. This is government through Khazarian fake Jew chicanery.
Good afternoon, folks. Care to discuss Israeli involvement in terror attacks against the United States? Care to discuss terrorism against United States military targets? Good afternoon, folks. Do you support Israel? Why do you support terrorism against the United States? Folks, why do you support Israeli terror attacks against U.S. military targets? Is there a reason? Does it make you feel good? Is it like Schadenfreude or just terrorism for the sake of terrorism, right? Ah, shit. God damn it, they're running cover for all those Jews going in. Fuck. I should have figured out what was going on. Fuck. God damn it. I should have figured out what was going on there. I missed all those Jews. God damn it. Good afternoon, sir. Why do you support terrorism against the United States? Why do you support a state that has committed multiple terrorist attacks against the United States? Are you going to encourage the state of Israel to give back the weapons-grade uranium?
High 5, 4.
Good afternoon, folks. How are you? You support terrorist attacks against the United States?
I love Javon.
You're protecting the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks. And you guys laugh about it. I'm glad you guys think 9/11 was funny because
you gotta help me think up a way to deal with this.
Hey, did you check out Time Warner?
I don't want your food. So I don't know if you know what just happened there, but they started talking crazy and making loud noises at the same time as a big herd of Jews was heading into AIPAC that I wanted to get on video. And I fell for it. I went for the other side of the street trying to get some stragglers on camera. And I wound up missing like 200 Jews going in. Afternoon, sir. Do you support Israeli terrorism against the United States? So Dawson has warned me about this. Anytime you start making points like he was making about 9/11, they send in the clown show. Yeah. Very clever Jews. Son of a bitch. All right, I'm going to pause the stream for now. I need to figure out what to do.